It's almost time. It's almost football season. Training camp is right here. Football season is right around the corner, and I'm excited. But wait, before I get too excited and too happy about football season, let's talk about how we can fortify this roster. Let's get it. You know why you're here. Let's talk Ravens with Yolanda. Let's go. A healthy balance at every position. If they brought in Derrick Henry, because the Ravens aren't serious. Eric DeCosta's make or break season, off season. Good evening, Ravens flock. How is everyone doing tonight? How are we doing? How are we feeling? I hope you all are doing fine. I hope you're having a wonderful week on this. So far, we're at Thursday. And as we keep moving closer and inching closer to training camp and soon preseason, and I'm ready for some Ravens football. I don't know about you, but I've missed it. And it's been a long off season. Because for us as Ravens fans, this offseason was just not how we expected or hoped we would go into the offseason. I thought we were celebrating all offseason long, being champions, but that's okay. We're coming back this year. We're taking everything that we left on the field. We're leaving nothing behind this year, and I'm confident that the Ravens can do it. There are just a few things that I think we can do to solidify this roster. There are a couple of pieces I think we can add to bring us closer to completion of that roster that we can use to hashtag, you already know it, the one that I said at the start of the season, chase the Lombardi. So we're not going to be here long tonight, but I wanted to check in, see how everyone was doing, and just to touch base, a pre-training camp check-in. And I want to see how everyone's faring, how we're feeling. What are your thoughts? So as I go through, it's only a couple of topics for tonight, but as I go through, please let me know if you are in the chat what you think, if there are players or free agents that are still out there that you think could come in and instantly contribute and boost and bolster our roster. Let me know. If you happen to be watching on replay, thank you. Welcome. We are glad you're here. Make sure you do me a favor if you're watching live, and if you're watching on replay, do me a favor, would you? Please hit that like button. It helps the channel a lot, and let's just dive in. But before we do, as customary here, I like to say a warm welcome to everyone who has joined in the chat. You guys, I muted my microphone. Thank you, Chef 87. I muted my microphone by accident. Oh, goodness. And I've been doing all this talking and just, Lord have mercy. Now I got to start all over, but I won't. I was just expressing to everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. Pardon the audio. I hit the mute button by accident, but it happens when you go live. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you are able to hear me now. Hopefully the audio, I'm looking, I can see it. Yes, audio is good. So I was just saying at the start of the video or the start of the live stream, if you're here and in the chat, we're not going to be here long tonight. Just a couple of pieces that I think we can add to this roster to bolster it, to hashtag chase that Lombardi this year. And for me, it's a couple of players that I wouldn't mind seeing the Ravens bring in as additions. I was also saying, while I was on mute, I was also saying that I hope that everyone's doing well, and I want to hear from you. I want your thoughts on if there are any players that are still left in free agency or out there who you think we can sign to bring in to help us. I think we'll be just fine this year because we are going to hashtag chase the Lombardi. So I was giving a warm welcome to everyone. We had Joey. Joey, good to see you. Hadn't seen him in a while, so I'm glad he's back. We also had Brandon Bazel in the house. Make sure you go over to Brandon Bazel's channel. Make sure you subscribe. He does food reviews, and he's amazing at it, and I can't wait for him to do a vegan food review, hopefully coming soon. Jared Green, thank you for joining. Make sure you go over and subscribe to Jared Green's channel. And for the gentlemen who are in the chat, if you want to drop the links to your channel, or you can click on their avatar and go, it should take you right over to their channels. Make sure you go over and subscribe. We also have Nisha C. Good evening, Nisha. I hope you're doing just fine. Chef 87, thank you for joining. You were saddened earlier, with the unfortunate passing of Jacoby Jones. Yes. Yeah, that was very, very tragic and sad. My heart just goes out to his family, his loved ones, teammates, friends, and everyone who was touched by his life. Very, very unfortunate and sad to see that. So yes, absolutely prayers up to his family and his loved ones. So thank you for that. Yes, and he said he's excited since his season tickets are renewed for this season. We need another safety. We're going to talk about safety coming up real soon. But before we do, I'm glad to see that you are a season ticket holder who has renewed. So I want to hear all about it during the games, and if you'll come by the channel after the games and tell us what you think, because there's just there's nothing like being in a game in person. So good. So I'm glad you are renewing your season tickets have been renewed. That's wonderful. Look forward to hear from you. And I see my mom is in the chat. Good evening, Mom. Thank you so much for joining. And she's also telling me earlier that my audio wasn't working. We have with us tonight, Florence. Thank you for joining. So good to see you. Make sure you go over to check out Florence's channel. She is amazing at helping you to get organized, maximize the time that you have and productivity. If you need help with that, please reach out to Florence and make sure you go over to her channel and she will help you out. All right, let's dive into it. As I said earlier, I don't know if I was on mute when I said it, but tonight's stream, we will not be here long because I just have a couple of names that I wanted to throw out there, just a couple of names, and let me know if you agree with the names or you disagree, or if there's another free agent out there that you think we should bring in, let me know. So the first person, but before I get into that, before I do, I'll start with the O-line. So this to me was not really a position where I think we can fortify. At this point, I really feel as though we have who we have, right? And who we have on the offensive line, I'm still a little concerned about them. But at this point, at this late stage, I don't think there's anything that's going to be done to the offensive line. And if I'll share my screen real quick and I'll just show you the two positions on the O-line that do give me a little concern. The first is Andrew Voorhees. Not so much Andrew Voorhees himself, because last week I did a video, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I did a live stream. I'm not going to spend too much time here. But last week I did a live stream where I discussed who needs to prove it on both offense and defense. And Andrew Voorhees, he's one of them who made my list. So I'm not going to go back into that. If you missed that live stream, I'll be sure to link it in the description box below after this video. But what does concern me more so than Andrew is Salah, because I've just not seen the level of play that makes me comfortable from Molly Salah. And now that we know that Voorhees is most likely projected to have that starting role, if any time he needs to, miss a game, or if anything happens, we're now leaving Lamar in the hands of the left guard, Salah. That concerns me. The second position on the offensive line that concerns me is Roger Rosengarten. And in last week's live stream, I did not indicate, or I did not mention any of the rookies. And although technically I said Andrew Voorhees is a quasi-rookie because he's really not played any NFL snaps since we drafted him because he was injured, I put him on the list, but I did not include the true rookies who we just drafted because with Rosengarten, we really don't know what we're going to get. I have high hopes for him, high expectations for him, and I'm excited to see him. But what does concern me is in the event, same thing with Andrew Voorhees, in the event one of them, either Andrew Voorhees or Rosengarten, are unavailable, my concern goes immediately to who's backing him up. And we come over to Daniel Falele. That for me is a concern. But at this point, the topic of today's show is not to voice my concerns and not to, to harp on what we can't change. But if there was a way to solidify the roster, those would have been the two positions that I would have liked to have seen, or at least one of them addressed, so that I would know that I feel more comfortable with Lamar Jackson being out there on that field. But that such is not the case. So let's talk about what we can change. I like to focus on the things that we actually have control over or a possibility of changing. So let's start. The first person who made my list is none other than Brandon Ayuk. This is a possibility for me. Now, I know, I get it. He has requested a trade, and he had I think he was interviewed, and he had a list, right? And on his list of possible places that he wouldn't mind going to or playing for, the Ravens weren't on that list. So even though I have him in my heart as wanting him to come to be a Raven, he certainly didn't put us on the list. I think he had the 49ers, the Commanders, and even the Steelers. Oh gosh, please don't let him go to the Steelers. Oh no. No. Just no. But this would be a person who I feel could come in, have an impact because of his proven track record. Because of his resume, he could come in and instantaneously improve our roster. And this is one that I put on here as a possibility. I understand the implications of the cap. I get it. We don't have cap space. How are we going to pay him? Listen, that's not for me to figure out. We have a capologist for that. I don't know if it's we trade some draft capital, and I know we relinquish some draft capital, and I know the Ravens never, ever want to do that. That's just not something that they do. But you find a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. And when you have a talent like Brandon Ayuk and a possibility even of snagging him, you kind of go all in. Because for me, this is the year that the Ravens must go all in. And we've had Lamar now for many years, and we've had under the same head coach for the same amount of years. We got to make it happen this year. This is the time. I thought it was going to be last year because we really were the team to beat in my eyes, but we didn't make it. It didn't happen for us. So now the focus needs to be, how do we get back to the AFC Championship? Not only get back there, how do we overcome that hurdle that has just been there, called the Kansas City Chiefs, or whatever hurdle presents itself this year, because it might not be the Chiefs. There are other teams out there who are strengthening, fortifying their rosters, right? So I just, I think about that. when you have a talent like Brandon Ayuk, you do what you can. And I just don't want him to go to the Steelers. That's all I'm saying. But I heard different comments through social media. We don't really need Brandon Ayuk. I mean, he'd be good, but we don't need him. We got the same thing, or we've got something similar, something very, very similar in Rashad Bateman. Again, I'm referring back to my last live stream where I talked about who needs to prove it, and he was on that list. And someone put in the comment, he needed to be number one on your list. You're right. I was trying to be gracious, but Rashad Bateman has to prove it to me. Brandon Ayuk has proven his ability. He hasn't proven it, obviously, with Lamar Jackson because he doesn't play for Lamar Jackson. He doesn't play with Lamar Jackson. But when you talk about the caliber of player, when you have Derrick Henry in that backfield, you've got Lamar Jackson at the helm, and then you've got someone like Brandon Ayuk alongside Zay Flowers. That to me is an automatic how we can unleash the possibility, unleash the potential for greatness. You do it by bringing in a Brandon Ayuk. Now, again, is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? I don't think so. But that was just me going off on a tangent. I'll take a couple of comments before I move on to the next topic, the next person I think we can look to bring in to fortify our roster. The chef said, this is year 4 for him and his cousin. Oh, good. Year 4 for them being season ticket holders. Oh, goodness. I can't wait to hear all about it this upcoming season. I hope you come back by the streams and let us know how it was at the games. This is good. Brandon Bazel says he thinks I'm on a team. I got an injury. Ooh, I think I'm on the team. I got an injury. Yikes. No. We need to get out of that mentality. Would I trade Oweh for Ayuk? Ooh. See, okay. This is the beauty of live streaming. You catch my instant reaction. There's no editing. I can't cover it up. I can't hide it. You're going to get what my instant reaction. Like I said, my instant reaction. Would I trade Oweh for Ayuk? I'm going to give you the lawyer answer. I'm going to give you my lawyer answer. It depends. It depends. I do not have any reason to believe that Oweh is not going to be everything that I expect him to be this year. I'm that confident in Oweh this year. If I'm wrong, we come back to this live stream, maybe middle of the season, 3 quarters into the season, maybe week 10, week 9, week 8, and we check in and we talk about, Yolanda, were you right? Yolanda, were you wrong? We do that. But I'm here to tell you tonight, and I've said it before, you can book it. I believe that Oweh is going to produce for us this year. So going back to my answer, it depends. I would not want to trade Oweh because I believe that he's coming with a vengeance this year. He knows what y'all been talking about him. He's heard it. He's listened in. He knows what's been said about him. He's coming. He is. I hope the same thing for Bateman too. I do. I'm still rooting for Bateman. I just need to see that connection, that chemistry with QB1. But I'm not willing to trade Oweh for Ayuk because I believe that Oweh is going to do everything that I want, I need him to do. That said, the opposite end of the pendulum. If, and only if, and I do say only, if and only if Odafe Oweh does not perform, if Oweh is subpar, you hear it from me as an Oweh fan from day one. I'm his A1 from day one. If it's going to help us chase the Lombardi, if he's not productive and we know Brandon Ayuk could be, then the answer is, yeah, we trade Oweh for Ayuk. A couple more comments before we move on. Tanja said the Ravens are too cheap to trade for Brandon. Yeah, it's not defense. Exactly. When we look at the defense, we know that historically the mindset of the Ravens. Defense wins championships. And while that is partly true, you got to be able to score points. When you can't score points and the other team is, when you're going up against a Patrick Mahomes who can put up points on you. Yes, our defense held them to a limited number of points last year at the AFC Championship, but they were still able to put up enough points. I don't care if it's 1 point. They were able to put up enough points to send us home, to send us packing our bags. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Have a nice off season. They did that. So you've got to have a balance. So to her point, absolutely right. We have Eye of Horus Taurus. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. And Tanja, if I didn't say good evening to you, I hope you are doing well. Thank you for joining. He said, nah, Bateman is done in his opinion. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. What I need to see, and we can certainly, Eye of Horus Taurus, please come back maybe week 4, week 5, somewhere around there. And let's check in, because we're going to have some check-ins along the way this season, because I like to take temperature checks to see where we are. Okay. What you get over here on this channel, I'm going to look at it in a realistic perspective. I'm going to praise our team when we're doing it right. I'm going to call us out when we're doing it wrong. That's what you're going to get. And so Eye of Horus Taurus, please come back, because I don't agree with that right now. I think we can hope for a connection with Lamar between he and Bateman. And if that's there, we'll be okay, because Bateman is an excellent route runner. He is good. He's very good. He can get separation. He can get open. We just need to see that connection. Tanja says, yes, you all know that I'm loyal to Owe. I hope this year is the one for him. I really do. Thank you, Tanja. Tanja, thank you. Yes, I do too. We need that edge rush. We need that. We need him to be able to apply pressure. Listen, Joe Burrow is coming back this year. Again, I've said this on my live stream. We need to focus on not only the NFL as a whole, we certainly do, but we also know that the AFC North is the most difficult division in the NFL. My opinion, but I'm sure some of you, if not most of you, would agree. When we discuss how tough these AFC North teams stack their roster and how tough it is to beat them, we need Owe. He's going to have to get after Joe Burrow. The Pittsburgh Steelers have now added 2 new quarterbacks, and whoever they have at the helm, whether it's Justin Fields or whether it's, they call him Miss Sierra, which I don't think is very nice, but whoever they have at the helm at quarterback, we need Odafe Owe to get after him. We need Ojabo to be healthy enough that he can get after the quarterback. We need to improve our sack total. We need to improve just the amount of pressure that we apply on these quarterbacks. That's a must. When, I hate to see injury. I do. I don't like it. I don't care what team you're on. Am I going to always be loyal to my Baltimore Ravens? You don't know if you can see it, but yeah, of course I am. But it doesn't matter. I don't like injuries, period, because I want to see a team go head to head with the Ravens, healthy, and I want to see where we are, and I want to see where they are. And one thing I believe about Joe Burrow, if he is healthy, that's a very good quarterback. And he's got the talent around him. He's got the offensive weapons. We need to have an answer for it. And what is our answer? It's going to be Odafe Owe. It's going to be Kyle Van Noy. We lost Jadeveon Clowney. He was amazing for us last year. I just did a video, 2.5. I just did a video recently, posted on my channel a couple of days ago. What's the difference between an edge rusher and an outside linebacker? If you haven't watched it, please make sure after this video, go over and watch it, because it really details how important the position of edge rusher is. And it also talks and explains how important our outside linebackers are. In the defensive system that we run, we need a contribution from all of them. So I really, I'm hoping for big things, right? I'm hoping for big things for my guy Owe. So thank you, Tanja, for having some faith in Oway. I'm going to take a few more comments, and then I'm going to move on to the second person that I think can really help us fortify the roster as we hashtag Chase the Lombardi. Eye of Horus Taurus says he'll be here all year. Okay. And making videos. All right. Okay. On him and Marcus, have the most pressure on them. No issues with you being optimistic for him, but not holding my breath. Too many chances for a first rounder. That's fair. That's fair. I will give you that. He has had a lot of chances, and the expectation for a first rounder, I cannot say that he has lived up to it wholly. But I'm starting right now. I'm going to give him, being Odafe Oway, if you're just joining the stream, welcome. I'm going to give Odafe Oway a clean slate, and we're going to start off fresh this year. And that's what I'm looking for. Dr. Ilwan, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope you're doing well. He agreed. Teams get beat up in this division. That's right. And the fact that our division is so incredibly tough, we need to have an answer for it. At every position on this field, we need to have an answer for the opposition. Every time. Every time. We have my guy, OD, from the Woo Pig podcast. If you are new here, if you have not gone over, please make sure you do and subscribe to the Woo Pig podcast. Arkansas Razorbacks football, basketball. The gentlemen over there do a show at least 2 to 3 times a week. You don't want to miss it. I forgot to say earlier on, and that charged it to my head and not my heart, Jose. It was when I was experiencing, I don't want to call it technical difficulties because it was just me messing up stuff. So I'm going to call it Yolanda in her bag, not really doing it right when my audio wasn't working. Make sure you go over and subscribe to Jose and Brodney. They are brothers, and they do a show, a live stream every Wednesday night called Lunch Break Hot Take, 7:15 Eastern time. Go over because Brodney is a Panthers fan. The other day I said, Brodney is a Ravens fan. No, I'm sorry, Panthers fan. And I said, wait now, Brodney is almost like a Ravens fan because he really knows. But I kid, I joke. I know his team is the Panthers, but Brodney is so well versed in football. But, the two of them, amazing show. And not only football, they talk all things sports. So make sure you go over to their channels and subscribe. We also have with us tonight the Rogue Pod, Hendo from the Rogue Pod. Good evening to you. I hope you're doing well. Make sure you go over to the Rogue Pod, subscribe to his channel because he is coming back. I heard it through the grapevine. I heard it. I'm sure I did. He's coming back very soon with his live streams because we miss him. We miss his takes on these Baltimore Ravens. Yes. I also see Zeke Hokage. Thank you for joining. First time here. Thank you. Warm welcome to you. And I hope you're doing just fine. Good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm going to move right along. Oh gosh, let me say hello because I feel bad if I don't say hi to everybody. Brandon, aka Arkansas. He's an undercover Raven. Says, see there? We all know it, Brodney. So if you're watching this on replay, Brodney, we welcome you here into the Ravens fan base. We do. So the second person that I had on my list who I think could be a possibility, as the title of this live stream thumbnail implies, how can we bolster our roster? How can we solidify it? Someone mentioned earlier in the stream, we need another safety. We do. And I'll agree. I can agree to that. We do. We certainly need another safety. This one right here is a safety who we brought in for a workout, or we're planning to bring in for a workout. I didn't see the reports to say that Eddie Jackson came. I don't know if it was today or if he's coming in the very, very near future. But this one right here could be something. So what I did is I looked up his stats because I really wanted to know kind of, what could he bring to our Ravens? And last year, and this is a safety from former Chicago Bear, PFF stats, 33 solo tackles last year, 1 interception, 18 targets, 12 receptions allowed. Overall grade for PFF was a 58.6. He played 12 games. So I thought to myself, okay, Of the remaining free agents in terms of safety, of the remaining free agents that are out there, is there someone who is either a comparable to an Eddie Jackson or maybe even better? And that's when I looked up, I thought about Justin Simmons. He's still out there on the free agency. And when I looked him up, he also played 12 games. So the stats from PFF here are going to be equal in terms of how many games both players played last year. Justin Simmons from Denver, he had 59 solo tackles. And remember, Eddie Jackson, he had 33. I move on. Justin Simmons had 3 interceptions last year, 36 targets, and 23 receptions allowed. His overall grade was a 67.9. So if we talk about who we can add to really bolster that roster, who we can bring in to really solidify, fortify us as a team, as we #Chase the Lombardi, my preference would be Justin Simmons. That's who I would go with. But let me know in the chat if if you feel differently, if you think that there's another free agent out there at safety that we could bring in, let me know. Someone mentioned in one of my live streams, I think it was a comment that was left, or maybe someone said it in the chat, they would not be opposed to moving Marlon Humphrey to safety. In order, I guess, in an effort to be able to keep Marlon here long term, they wouldn't be opposed to keeping or to moving Marlon to safety. And I said, oh, okay. Now that's a thought. What do you think about that in the chat? Let me know. Let me know. I'm going to take a few comments and then we'll talk about our last topic before I say goodnight. Okay, we have Dr. Ilwan said, I think Braid needs to get a chance at safety. I agree. I'm high on Bo Braid. I am. I can see that. He definitely needs a chance. I didn't really, as I was, thinking about this live stream and even the one before, the one from last week, I intentionally left off the rookies because I need to really see in training camp. And I think training camp is going to give us a good measure of where we are in terms of our rookies. Who has a really good chance of A, making the 53-man roster, or B, practice squad. So, we'll take a look at that. We'll see. The Woo Pig podcast says, as a Bears fan, okay, he's talking about Eddie Jackson, not him. He doesn't tackle. He's not healthy. He blames everybody else. Well, you heard it here first. You heard it here first from a Bears fan. This is someone, do we want to bring that into our locker room? Do we want to bring in what I would, from reading his comment, deficiency? So I told you my thought would be my preference. If I could choose Justin Simmons, Eddie Jackson, I'm taking Justin Simmons. That's just what I'm doing. So thank you for sharing that. That's good to know. Oh, in the house with us tonight, we have Abdi Hassan. Good evening to you, Abdi. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Thank you for joining. One other comment here. Tanja said Marlon would be okay at safety. He is not catching any interception. That's right. He cannot catch at all. So when I think of safety, and I've got a video coming out about safeties either later this week today's Thursday, so it'll probably be next week. When I think of safety as the last line of defense, I'm looking for the player who can ensure that the opposite team, the person on offense does not make his way into the end zone. I don't care what you have to do. Obviously, we need speed. We need a tackling ability. We need someone who is really aggressive. And because I don't want Marlon, if we think about moving him to safety, to be in a position where he's giving up those big plays. So it's just something to think about. And maybe that could be the reason the Ravens have not heretofore signed another safety, knowing, as we all said, as we all see, knowing that the Ravens need help at safety. That could be a reason why the Ravens haven't signed anyone. Maybe they're thinking, let's give Marlon a chance. Let's give him a try at safety. That could be where they're headed. We'll see. I don't know. Dr. Ilwan says the third safety will be playing single or too high. Yeah. If Bo Braid can play too high safety and can play that instead of picking up a free agent safety, okay. Let's give him a chance. Let's see. And I think, as I mentioned before, I think for me, a lot of that is going to be demonstrated once we see training camp unfold. Once the rookies, obviously Bo Braid and all of the rest, once the pads go on, right? And they really start matching up on that field, practicing, almost as if it's a real game. That's when we're going to see this, who's who. We're going to separate the boys from the men, so to speak. With us tonight, we have Big Reg, host of Big Boy Talk. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Glad you're here. One other topic I wanted to briefly touch on tonight, not the best of topics, but one we certainly have to discuss. Injury updates. Let me go here. Jeff Zrebiec put a post up not too long ago. I think it was a couple days ago. And per transaction notice, the Ravens placed running back Keaton Mitchell and fourth round rookie CJ Tampa on PUP, physically unable to perform list. Now, we all know Keaton Mitchell was going to make that list. He had a really horrific, horrible injury. It's going to take him some time. I'm not looking for Keaton Mitchell until at least, I think his injury was in December against the Jags. I'm not looking for Keaton Mitchell until at least November at the earliest. So no surprise there. But what was surprising, right? TJ Tampa. And I think one of the first questions was, what happened to Tampa? I don't know. I really don't know what happened to him. So the other injury was third round rookie outside linebacker Adisa Isaac, placed on the non-football injury list. And we just talked about the need of our edge rushers. We just talked about that. That is a position we really have to make sure that we are ready, we're prepared. And when I saw that, I said, wait, Adisa Isaac, we need him. But I don't have any details. I don't know what happened. I think Adisa Isaac had from earlier in the offseason, he had a lower leg hamstring maybe injury. It could be a nagging injury that is causing him to be on the non-football injury list. I don't know. We'll see. Training camp is here, so hopefully we'll get an update on not just Adisa, but TJ Tampa. What happened to him? But that's something that the Ravens need to focus on, making sure that the players are healthy. That is a huge deal. That's a very big deal. And if we can do that, then as long as we can do that, as long as we can stay healthy and tend to our players and keep them on a good trajectory, I think we're in a good place. I've given you a couple of my ideas or my thoughts on how we really can add to our roster, build us, make our team better. We're late into the offseason, but that doesn't mean that something wonderful, miraculous even, can't happen. Because I'll draw your attention back to last offseason when we were saying, what are we going to do at edge? What are we going to do? We don't have anybody. And sure enough, the Ravens found a way to bring in Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy, who were outstanding for us. So for me, I still have hope moving into this training camp and into preseason, that if we still have areas on this roster that we need to fill, safety being one of them, obviously, I have concerns, and I said it in the last stream. I have concerns for, who's backing up at nickel. We have, we have Arthur Mollett. Hopefully, I think he'll be the starter. But then behind him, we have Pepe Williams, and we know that Pepe hasn't been healthy. And then behind Pepe is nobody. So that's an area, nickelback. That's an area that needs to be solidified to me. But That's all I have for you all tonight. Thank you so much for joining. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I just want to make sure that we are ready to go. I see IFR is questioning the Nightbot. I got to work on that. I don't know what he did, what the Nightbot is telling you. I don't know if you use too many emojis. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. We'll get it squared away. Anyway, well, thank you all so much for joining. This was great. I'm really happy about where we stand in terms of where, the start of this training camp. But I'm looking for training camp to really confirm with me that, yes, we're on our way. That's what I want. So if you happen to have been one that snagged a ticket to training camp, kudos to you. Bravo. Good for you. I did not get a ticket. So I'll just be listening and waiting to hear from you all. If you're posting on social media, I'll follow you and make sure to see how our Ravens are doing this year, but during training camp. But at any rate, thank you all so much for joining. I will see you all very soon. And until next time, you take care and stay safe. And always remember, even when the button doesn't want to work, go Ravens. God bless.